Context. My partner and I had dated for nearly 6 years. We started dating when we were pretty young and going through our own individual struggles. Her father had just died of terminal cancer, and I was in and out of the hospital for mental health issues, but we found comfort in each other. And it all felt really good to actually start dating. We spent pretty much every moment together. We moved in together a couple years later, got dogs together, and so on. As we got older, we admittedly began to grow into our own personalities. With her working full-time and me doing full-time school/part-time work, it became more strained. She also began talking to me less and less on a daily basis and was spending a lot more time talking on her phone to other people. I felt pretty ignored. I made efforts to do more and talk to her more, but I felt shot down a lot by her and didn't want to push her out of her comfort zone. Because of her always being on her phone talking to others, yet not really talking to me, I also felt incredibly jealous, and it brought out a side of me that wasn't healthy. Never any yelling, arguing, or anything ever. We were having less intimacy, going out less, talking much less, and it feels pretty strained. I felt depressed about it all. It got to the point where in April she admits to me that she's been talking to another person romantically. It hit me so hard that I didn't even know how to respond. I still don't, honestly. I wasn't even mad, I was just in pure shock. She basically then said, after dropping that bombshell, "I'm moving out, I need space from you, I'm not in love with you anymore, and I'm sorry for talking to someone else romantically." So she's now moved in with a friend. I have been understandably miserable beyond human comprehension. It was weeks where I was saying I would fix myself, stop being clingy, give her the space she needs, go to therapy, begging to do whatever to help save us. But nothing prevailed, and I failed. I've been going between feelings of betrayal, anger, and depression. My mom said that finding God would help me, and that just made me even sadder. She's also taking one of our 2 dogs with her. But despite all this, here's what I don't get. After all this, she keeps saying that she doesn't want to lose me. It's been 2 months since everything happened, and I'm just trying to cope with it all. She said after all this, she feels like I'm pushing her away, and she doesn't want me to excommunicate her from my life. I have made no efforts to text her, call her, and I've been separating her stuff from mine because this is ultimately what she wanted. And mind you, she's still actively talking to this individual she emotionally cheated on me with almost every day. And seeing her or talking to her genuinely hurts me more than anything I've ever felt in my whole life. But it's just a slap to the face to be told that she wants me in her life when she is doing everything to separate from me. I'm just trying to make sense of it all. I have not been a perfect partner, and I know that. And I understand that someone deserves time to grow as a person and find themselves, but to try and include me in it after the fact, when I've clearly been limiting you to the point where you felt you needed to cheat on me, is extremely confusing and painful to me. To add, I'm reading the replies, and thank you guys for helping me clarify some things. My head is pretty messed up as it is right now, so I appreciate the kindness, direction. I've already removed all of our photos together, her photos, off of my phone, and deleted her from all my social media. I'm actively packing her stuff up as well and putting it in boxes for her to come and pick it up. Typing all that stuff out and realizing what's happening honestly makes me want to cry. But it is a part of the process, I suppose. Thank you. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. She doesn't want to lose you means she likes having you around as a backup. Don't do it. Cut her off. Don't message her. Don't call her. Block her on all social media. Basically cease to exist as far as she is concerned. That is the consequence of leaving you. That you will no longer have anything to do with her and you will not be there for her ever again. This is really important. Now, go out. Join a gym. Join a hobby club. You have your freedom. Go out and enjoy it. Take advantage of your freedom. I would advise against dating again. You're not in the place for that yet. But the sooner you cut her out of your life and work on yourself, the sooner you will be. Comment 2. I'm sorry this happened. Your ex doesn't get to break up with you less than a month ago and keep you on a string as a friend. That's very unfair to you. I would advise going no contact until you process this and decide whether you want her friendship or not in the future. Take all the time you need and why. And if you decide you don't want her friendship, that's perfectly valid. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking with me through all this. So, 3 days ago, I made a huge mistake that changed everything. I was packing up her stuff, trying to get it all ready for her to pick up, and I found an old journal of hers. I know I shouldn't have, but I was feeling so lost and confused. I decided to read it. I thought maybe it would give me some insight into what went wrong. Instead, I found out that she had been unhappy for a lot longer than she ever let on. She wrote about feeling trapped and suffocated, about how she felt like she was losing herself in our relationship. She even mentioned that she'd been thinking about leaving me for over a year. Finding that journal was like a punch to the gut. I felt betrayed all over again, but this time it was mixed with guilt. I had no idea she felt that way, and it made me question everything. Had I been so wrapped up in my own issues that I didn't see hers? I thought we were in this together, but it turns out she was dealing with her own demons in silence. The next day, I decided to confront her about it. I called her up and asked if we could meet. She sounded hesitant, but agreed. We met at a coffee shop, and I brought the journal with me. When I showed it to her, she looked shocked and a bit angry. She asked me why I had gone through her things, and I didn't really have a good answer. I just told her I was desperate to understand what went wrong. She took a deep breath and started to explain. She said that she didn't want to burden me with her problems because she knew I was dealing with my own. She thought she could handle it on her own. But it just kept building up until she couldn't take it anymore. She admitted that talking to someone else was a way for her to escape, to feel like she had some control over her life again. Hearing her say all this was heartbreaking. I realized that we had both been suffering in silence, too afraid to burden each other with our problems. It made me wonder if things could have been different, if we had just been more open with each other. But before I could dwell on that, she dropped another shocker. She told me that she had decided to move to another city to start fresh. She said she needed to get away from everything and everyone to figure out who she really was. I didn't know how to react. On one hand, I was devastated that she was leaving for good. On the other hand, I understood why she felt she needed to do it. I asked her what this meant for us, and she said she didn't know. She still cared about me and wanted me in her life, but she couldn't promise anything. She needed to focus on herself for a while. The next day, I started to feel the fallout from our conversation. I was angry at myself for not seeing the signs, for not being there for her when she needed me the most. I was also angry at her for not trusting me enough to share her feelings. It felt like we had both failed each other in so many ways. I spent most of the day in a daze, trying to process everything. That evening, I got a call from her friend, the one she had moved in with. She told me that my ex had been really struggling and that she was worried about her. She asked if I could come over and talk to her, try to help her through this. I was hesitant at first, but I agreed. When I got there, I found her in a really bad state. She was crying and saying that she didn't know what to do, and that she felt like she was losing everything. Seeing her like that broke my heart. I sat down next to her and just held her while she cried. We talked for hours, and for the first time in a long time, we were completely honest with each other. We talked about our fears, our regrets, and our hopes for the future. It was a painful conversation, but it felt like a weight had been lifted off our shoulders. As we talked, I realized that we both had a lot of healing to do, both individually and together. I told her that I would support her decision to move, and that I would be there for her no matter what. She thanked me and said that she needed some time to think about everything. The next day, I started to reflect on our relationship and my own issues. I realized that I had been so focused on my own problems that I had neglected hers. I decided to start going to therapy again, not just for myself, but to become a better person for her and for anyone else in my life. I knew it was going to be a long and difficult journey, but I was ready to face it. In the meantime, I've been trying to keep myself busy. I've been spending more time with friends and family, trying to rebuild my support system. I've also been focusing on my studies and work, trying to find some sense of normalcy in all this chaos. It's been tough, but I'm starting to see a glimmer of hope. As for her, she's still planning to move, but we've been talking more regularly. We're trying to rebuild our friendship and see where things go from there. It's not easy, and there are still a lot of unresolved feelings, but we're both committed to making it work in some way. Looking back, I realized that our relationship was far from perfect, but it was also filled with love and good times. We both made mistakes, but we're also both trying to learn from them. It's going to take time, but I'm hopeful that we can both come out of this stronger and better. Thanks for reading. Am I the idiot for cutting off my mom after she called my girlfriend a gold digger? Me and my girlfriend of 4 months are an unlikely couple in most people's eyes, mainly due to the fact that she's very attractive and I'm not. It's not just my opinion. People literally told me she's the most beautiful woman they've ever seen. And I thought the same when I first met her. We met at work, since that's what people often ask. Our company's offices are in the same building. My drunk coworkers went to ask them to join our Christmas party, and that's how we met. She's my first serious girlfriend. Nobody ever liked me enough to enter a committed relationship with me before, which proves my previous claim of being unattractive. However, I hope she is also my last, and would ask her to marry me today if not for the fear of scaring her away. So I'm very serious about this, and obviously I'm madly in love. I've always had a very close relationship with my parents, so naturally I was excited and proud to introduce my amazing girlfriend to them. So my parents invited us over, and I thought everything was going great. My girlfriend is generally very good with people, unlike me, and she also brought homemade cookies. However, I could see my mom was being colder than usual and could sense something was off. The next day, my mom came over and told me, "Son, I must warn you about that woman." Basically, she told me she thinks my girlfriend is a gold digger. I asked her what gave her the impression, and she did not give me a straight answer, just, "Women like her usually are," or, "Why do you think she is with you?" I told her it's ridiculous since my girlfriend actually earns more than me and is pretty ambitious career-wise. But my mom wouldn't have it and insisted my girlfriend is trying to use me, which doesn't really make sense. Why would she choose to use me of all people when she could easily find someone who's actually rich? My mom also said my girlfriend looks high maintenance, which she totally isn't. Her hobbies are camping, hiking, botany, and reading. Same as mine. We actually bonded over that. She's just about as high maintenance as I am. But my mom insisted that my girlfriend pretended to like the same things as me, just to get closer to me, as if I wouldn't notice that. I was also hurt by the fact that my mother would think these things. I mean, it's one thing when random people assume I must be super rich when they see me with her, or that I'm her brother or anything other than her actual boyfriend. But it's something else entirely when your own family basically tells you, "Hey son, there's no way this incredible woman would waste her time with someone like you. She must be plotting something." I'm already insecure about not being good enough for her, and this definitely didn't help. So my question is, what do I do about this? My mother does not listen to me and seems to have already made up her mind about my girlfriend. I'm very close to my family, and I see them every week. My girlfriend actually likes it as she's also close to her family, and I know she hopes to get along well with mine. I haven't told my girlfriend any of this because I know she'd be hurt by my mother's assumptions. I fear my mother will ruin my relationship if I let my girlfriend near her again. But I can't exactly hide them from each other forever now that they've already met. Help. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Tell your mother her opinions are extremely hurtful, as they indicate you are not worthy of a relationship with an attractive and smart person. Tell your mother that if she doesn't change her behavior, you'll have to spend less time with her. Comment 2. Tell your mom she is entitled to her opinion, but if she mistreats your girlfriend or tries to treat her differently because of her stance, you're going no contact until she changes her ways. Now, for the update, thanks for all the comments from the last post. So, 2 weeks have passed since my mom's accusations about my girlfriend, and a lot has happened. Right after my mom's visit, I decided to keep my distance from her for a bit, hoping she'd come around on her own. I didn't tell my girlfriend about what my mom said, but I could tell she sensed something was off. She asked me a few times if everything was okay, and I just brushed it off, saying work was stressful. Last weekend, my girlfriend and I went on a camping trip. It was supposed to be a relaxing getaway, but it turned into something much more significant. We were sitting by the campfire roasting marshmallows when she suddenly asked, "Are you sure everything's okay? You've been acting different." I couldn't keep it from her any longer, so I told her everything my mom had said. She was visibly hurt, but tried to stay composed. She said she understood why my mom might feel that way, but assured me that her feelings for me were genuine. The next day, we went on a hike, and I could tell she was still upset. She was quieter than usual, and when we reached the summit, she broke down in tears. She told me that she had always felt like she had to prove herself to people because of her looks, and that it hurt even more, coming from someone who mattered to me. I felt terrible and promised her that I would talk to my mom again and try to make her understand. When we got back from the trip, I called my mom and asked if we could talk. I went over to her house, and we had a long, heated discussion. I told her how much her words had hurt both me and my girlfriend. She was stubborn at first, repeating the same things she had said before, but I could see she was starting to feel guilty. I told her about our camping trip and how much it had affected my girlfriend. My mom finally admitted that she might have been too harsh and agreed to give my girlfriend another chance. The following weekend, my mom invited us over for dinner. My girlfriend was hesitant, but agreed to go. The dinner started off awkwardly, but my mom made an effort to be more welcoming. She asked my girlfriend about her job, her hobbies, and her family. By the end of the night, things seemed to be improving. My mom even complimented the dessert my girlfriend had brought. However, just when I thought things were getting better, my dad pulled me aside and told me he had overheard my mom on the phone with her sister, still expressing doubts about my girlfriend. This was a huge blow. I felt like we were back to square one. I didn't know what to do. Should I confront my mom again or just let it go? Meanwhile, at work, things were getting tense too. My girlfriend and I work in the same building, and I noticed that some of my coworkers were giving me strange looks. I found out that one of my coworkers, who had always been a bit jealous of me, had been making snide comments about my relationship. This added another layer of stress to an already complicated situation. One evening, my girlfriend and I were having dinner at her place when she brought up the idea of moving in together. She said it might help us feel more united against the negativity we were facing. I was thrilled at the idea, but also scared. Moving in together was a big step, and I wasn't sure if it was the right time given everything that was going on with my family. I decided to talk to my best friend about it. He's known me for years and has always been a good sounding board. He told me that if I truly loved my girlfriend, I should take the leap and move in with her. He said it might be the best way to show my mom and everyone else that our relationship was serious and not just a fling. So I took the plunge. I told my girlfriend I was ready to move in with her. She was ecstatic and started making plans right away. We spent the next few days packing up my stuff and moving it to her apartment. It was a hectic but exciting time. We were both happy and felt like we were taking a big step forward in our relationship. But then, something unexpected happened. My mom showed up at my girlfriend's apartment unannounced. She said she wanted to talk to both of us. We sat down and she apologized for her behavior. She said she realized she had been unfair and that she wanted to make things right. My girlfriend was gracious and accepted the apology, but I could tell she was still wary. After my mom left, my girlfriend and I had a long talk. She said she appreciated my mom's apology, but felt like she still had to prove herself. She asked me if I thought my mom would ever truly accept her. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to believe that my mom would come around, but I wasn't sure. In the midst of all this, I started thinking about my own insecurities. I realized that a lot of my mom's doubts were feeding into my own fears of not being good enough for my girlfriend. I decided to see a therapist to work through these issues. It was a tough decision, but I knew it was the right one. As I started therapy, I learned a lot about myself and my relationship. I realized that I had been letting my insecurities dictate my actions, and that I needed to be more confident in my relationship. My therapist helped me see that my girlfriend's love for me was genuine, and that I needed to trust her more. So here we are, 2 weeks later. My relationship with my girlfriend is stronger than ever, but my relationship with my mom is still a work in progress. I'm hopeful that with time, things will get better. Thanks for reading. Am I the idiot for accusing my girlfriend of cheating because of an HPV scare? My girlfriend and I have been together for almost 4 years and have never really had any serious issues until now. It was my understanding that both of us came into this relationship clean and free of sexually transmitted diseases. I had a full panel test done about a year before we met and hadn't been with anyone else in the time between. She claims her last test was 3 years ago, while we had already started dating, and the results showed everything was fine. We recently had a bit of a scare since she missed her period 2 months in a row. She took multiple different pregnancy tests, but the results were always negative. So I told her she needed to make an appointment with her gynecologist to find out what's going on. They confirmed she wasn't pregnant, and everything seemed fine until we got the results of her pap smear, which showed she tested positive for HPV. When she got the results, her first reaction was to accuse me of cheating. Given the circumstances, I wasn't mad at the initial accusation. I tried to reassure her that I didn't cheat and wouldn't do that to her. But she wouldn't accept that answer and insisted I just tell the truth. It went on like this for a couple of hours before she said, "I guess I just have to trust you." But I can tell she still has her doubts. Since then, things between us have been strained and heading in an uncertain direction. I've always fully trusted her, but now I started overthinking things that she's done in the past, like texting/using Snapchat with an old coworker, or going to a bachelorette party in Miami and not answering her phone when she went out for the night, or going out to bars, clubs with her friend who is single and not the best influence. I tried to do some of my own research since things aren't adding up, and now I'm even more confused about how this could have happened. I thought that maybe I could have picked it up in the past without realizing it. But I checked my immunization records and I got both Gardasil shots way before we even met, so I should be vaccinated against HPV. To be honest, I have no idea how to proceed. She swears she didn't cheat and was never diagnosed with it until now. I want to believe her, but now I'm not so sure. Is it possible that this happened without any infidelity? To add, there's been a lot of great advice in this thread, and I want to thank everyone that has shared their similar experiences. I didn't realize that this was such a common occurrence, and reading a lot of first-hand accounts has been reassuring. I have talked to my girlfriend since posting this, and we both understand that there's no way of pinpointing where it came from. Despite this, I feel like this whole situation has opened up a deeper trust issue that we both need to explore. I had lab work done over the weekend, and I am still waiting on the results. I understand that these tests don't detect HPV, but as long as there are no other surprises in the results, I think there's hope that we can move past this. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. She is probably in shock at getting this information after being in a monogamous relationship for 4 years. I'm sorry, her reaction is to blame you for cheating. But I don't think you should flip that on her and spiral into, "She must have cheated on me." You both should take a step back and think about handling this more maturely and as a team. She does need to have a talk with her gynecologist as soon as possible so she can get answers to all her questions. Maybe you could go with her for support. Depending on the type she has, there are all kinds of treatments. If she has a high-risk type, they will likely do a colposcopy to determine if there are any areas they might want to biopsy. Usually HPV clears within a few years. It's scary, but she will very likely be okay. Comment 2. The doctor will not test you for HPV or the herpes virus, HSV-YN2, by the way, unless you explicitly ask. The reason being most adults have these viruses. They can lie dormant for years, and they don't have a cure, just a treatment. The sexually transmitted infections covered in the typical panel are those doctors can cure, or in the case of HIV/AIDS, mitigate significantly with treatment. The worst part of both HSV and HPV is, by and large, the stigma associated with them. Women do need to be cautious about screening for certain kinds of cervical cancer, though. As others have said, have your girlfriend ask her gynecologist questions about how she might have contracted HPV and why she might not have been tested for it previously. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments and advice from my last post. So, after my last update, things took a turn I didn't quite expect. My lab results came back clean, which was a relief, but it didn't really solve the underlying issue. My girlfriend and I decided to sit down and have a serious talk about our relationship and where we stand. We both agreed that the trust issues needed to be addressed if we were going to move forward. During our conversation, she brought up something that caught me off guard. She mentioned that she had been feeling distant from me for a while, even before the HPV scare. She said that she felt like I wasn't as emotionally available as I used to be, and that it made her feel insecure. This was a hard pill to swallow because I always thought I was being supportive and present. But looking back, I realized that I had been so focused on work and other responsibilities that I might have neglected our relationship. We decided to take a break from our usual routines and spend some quality time together. We planned a weekend getaway to a cabin in the mountains, hoping that some time away from the daily grind would help us reconnect. The first day was a bit awkward, but by the second day, we started to open up more. We talked about our fears, our insecurities, and our hopes for the future. It felt like we were finally on the same page again. However, the peace didn't last long. On our last night at the cabin, my girlfriend received a text from her old coworker, the one I'd been suspicious of. She showed me the message, which was innocent enough, but it still made me uneasy. I didn't want to ruin the progress we had made, so I tried to brush it off. But she could tell something was bothering me, and it led to another heated argument. In the heat of the moment, I accused her of being unfaithful, which I immediately regretted. She was hurt and angry, and I could see the trust we'd been trying to rebuild crumbling before my eyes. She packed her things and left the cabin that night, leaving me alone to reflect on my actions. The next few days were tough. We didn't speak to each other, and I was left wondering if I had ruined everything. I realized that my own insecurities and lack of trust were the real issues, not her actions. I decided to seek help from a therapist to work through my trust issues and learn how to communicate better. After a few sessions, I felt more equipped to handle the situation. I reached out to my girlfriend and asked if we could meet to talk. She agreed, and we met at a coffee shop. I apologized for my behavior and explained that I was working on my issues. She appreciated the effort I was making and agreed to give our relationship another chance, but with the condition that we both attend couples therapy. We started therapy together, and it was a game changer. We learned how to communicate more effectively and how to address our insecurities without blaming each other. It wasn't easy, but we were both committed to making it work. We also made a pact to be more transparent with each other, sharing our thoughts and feelings openly. During one of our therapy sessions, my girlfriend revealed something from her past that she had never told me before. She had been in a toxic relationship before we met, and it had left her with deep emotional scars. She had never fully healed from that experience, and it had affected her ability to trust and feel secure in our relationship. This revelation helped me understand her better and made me more empathetic towards her struggles. As we continued therapy, we started to see positive changes in our relationship. We were more connected, more understanding, and more supportive of each other. We also made an effort to spend more quality time together, whether it was going for a walk, cooking dinner together, or just sitting and talking about our day. One day, while we were out for a walk, my girlfriend turned to me and said, "I feel like we are finally in a good place." It was a simple statement, but it meant the world to me. It was a sign that all the hard work we had put into our relationship was paying off. But before I get into that, there's something else I need to mention. During our therapy sessions, I also learned a lot about myself. I realized that my trust issues stemmed from my own insecurities and past experiences. I had been cheated on in a previous relationship, and I had never fully dealt with the pain and betrayal I felt. This realization was a turning point for me, and it helped me understand why I had been so quick to accuse my girlfriend of cheating. As we continued to work on our relationship, we also started to plan for the future. We talked about our goals, our dreams, and what we wanted from our relationship. We even started to discuss the possibility of moving in together, which was a big step for both of us. In the end, the HPV scare turned out to be a blessing in disguise. It forced us to confront our issues and work on our relationship in a way we never had before. We came out of it stronger, more connected, and more committed to each other. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.